With a new decade here, I thought it would be interesting to look back at the most significant weather events of the last decade in Pennsylvania. I won't rank them because that's subjective and I don't want to minimize the impact of any event, whether I include it or not. So I'll just go chronologically, tonight looking at the first half and next week the latter half of the decade known as the 2000s, the O's, the zeros, and the aughts, to name a few. The decade arrived amidst unrealized Y2K fears, and it was also an inauspicious start for weather forecasters, as a poorly predicted snowstorm in late January brought 6 to 10 inches to eastern Pennsylvania when little to none was in the forecast the night before. Nicknamed the Carolina Crusher, this storm dumped 20 inches on Raleigh on its way up the coast. The year ended with another tough forecast as the sharp western edge of a second big snowstorm straddled the Delaware River, dumping 6 inches in Allentown but 2.5 feet just to the east in New Jersey. In 2001, the state's biggest weather story was also in the east. The remnants of Tropical Storm Allison, which earlier had inundated parts of Texas with more than 30 inches of rain, came up the east coast, interacted with a front, and dumped 8 to 10 inches of rain just northwest of Philadelphia on Father's Day. Roads and a bridge were washed out by flooding, which also caused a gas line explosion, and damage exceeded $200 million. Allison's heavy rain in the state was localized, however, and 2001 actually ended up the driest year of the decade statewide on average. Entering 2002, nearly all of Pennsylvania's 67 counties were in a drought watch or warning. And after the driest February on record in the southeastern part of the state, 24 counties went into a drought emergency, bringing mandatory water restrictions. And it wasn't until October that enough rain fell to end the dry spell. The estimated cost to Pennsylvania farmers from the drought was $250 million. 2003 was a busy year for high-impact weather events in the state. In February, the President's Day snowstorm dropped more than a foot in most of the state, with 20 inches from Harrisburg to Philadelphia. That summer brought one of the most active severe weather days of the decade on July 21st, with 5 tornadoes and 100 reports of damaging wind. A tornado in McKean County collapsed the historic Kinzua Viaduct Bridge, which was being restored at the time. Then on September 19th, the remnants of Hurricane Isabel crossed the state with winds above 70 miles per hour, causing $160 million damage and power outages to 1.4 million customers across 45 counties. The tropics were also the top weather story in 2004. In September, the remnants of 3 storms, Francis, Ivan, and Jean, soaked the state. Pittsburgh set its all-time daily rainfall record with 3.6 inches from Francis, only to have that broken a week later with almost 6 inches from Ivan. Here's the monthly rainfall amounts. It was near 10 inches, except in the extreme northwest and southeast. No wonder 2004 ended up on average the wettest year of the decade statewide. We'll pick up the story in 2005 next week. After a short break, Paul Knight has the extended forecast. Last week, I looked back at the most significant weather events in Pennsylvania during the first half of the just completed decade, and this week, I'll tackle the latter half. Starting in 2005, when the tropical Atlantic was in overdrive. Hurricane Katrina even had an impact in Pennsylvania, its remnant low spawning 5 tornadoes on August 31st. Parts of Adams, Cumberland, York, and Lycoming counties were hit as tornadoes came within miles of cities such as Gettysburg and Mechanicsburg. Another tropical system that made news that year was the not-so-well-known Tammy. In early October, its remnants helped produce more than 6 inches of rain over much of southeastern Pennsylvania, with nearly a foot in parts of Lancaster County, where hundreds of roads were closed. Allentown even set a new record for most rain in one day. And too much rain was also a story in 2006. In late June, a steady flow of tropical moisture and a stalled front combined to produce serious flooding in many central and eastern counties. Now here's rainfall from the 25th to the 28th. Dark green is more than 4 inches, dark blue at least 8, pink more than a foot. All in all, it was the second wettest June on record in the state, behind only 1972 with Agnes. And later that year, on December 1st, 5 tornadoes formed ahead of an advancing cold front in Westmoreland, Dauphin, Luzerne, and Pike counties, the first tornadoes ever reported in December in Pennsylvania. 2007 was the year winter came late, as the first 1-inch snow in Harrisburg waited until Groundhog Day, and in Philadelphia, February 13th. That Valentine's Day storm dumped as much as 20 inches of snow, with a foot common in the mountains and in the north. But the storm is remembered most for its disruption in the southeast, where highways were glazed with sleet and freezing rain. Hundreds of drivers spent a cold night in their vehicles on an icy stretch of I-78 where the National Guard had to deliver supplies to stranded motorists. All told, about 150 miles of highway were closed at some point, including parts of Interstates 80 and 81. In 2008, the tropics again caused headaches, this time with wind. In mid-September, the fast-moving low that was once Hurricane Ike moved north through Ohio, spreading damaging winds over western and central Pennsylvania that downed trees and power lines in at least 25 counties. The highest recorded wind gust was 81 miles per hour in Beaver County. Late October brought an early season snow to northeast Pennsylvania with 10 inches in Hazleton, but that same storm produced rain in Philadelphia, leading to the first suspended game in World Series history. And the top weather stories last year were of a wintry nature. January 17th brought some of the lowest temperatures of the decade, minus 21 in Kane and a daily record minus 13 in Williamsport. Then there was a freak mid-October snowstorm in central Pennsylvania, the earliest measurable snow on record in many spots, bringing down trees and power lines as far south as State College. And finally, the year ended with a big-time December snowstorm in the southeast with 23 inches in Philadelphia, its second biggest snowstorm on record. Are there any events in our near future that'll make this list a decade from now? I don't think so, but Fred Godomsky will tell us for sure next.